Good morning. My name is Wahida Sheikh. I live in Ward 19 in George, and I'm here on behalf of Al Jamaa and I submit on behalf of Al Jamaa Party. My submission is on the clause of torture which is in the bill. I am sure that many of us in the hall can remember the heartbreaking stories of anti-apartheid activists who endured torture while in detention during apartheid. We remember that there were about 67 detainees who died while in detention due to torture. In 1983, the Human Rights Movement Detainees Parents Committee reported on increased cases of police detainees who sought help after suffering torture at the hands of security police. We also remember that the state of emergency in 1987, there were 4,224 people who were in detention, of whom 1,424 were 18 years and younger. In fact, the youngest detainee was 10 years old. During the history of detention without trial, between 7,000 and 10,000 women were imprisoned, and many of these women were not exempt from being tortured. I bring this up today because when we look at our political climate, it's hard to believe that should there be a change in regime, the political opponents will not be spared from being tortured. In a post-apartheid South Africa, torture of prisoners continued, although at a reduced rate. The method of torture was conveniently termed as assault. In 2011, a popular radio station exposed the torture of an awaiting trial prisoner held at Pretoria Central Prison. There are other allegations of torture as well. We cannot allow the old apartheid torture methods to remain relevant in our constitution. This document was fought for by resistance fighters who sacrificed their lives, wealth, livelihoods, and families so that we can enjoy a free South Africa. We support the bill, but we reject the clause on torture. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Goedemorgen, voorzitter, de leden van de comité. Mijn naam is Chief Barry Jacobs, ik is van de Gouwekwijs, Khoisan, Grootbrekke. Nou, dat is die eerste keer in mijn leven waar ik moet die intelligentie diensten nou hoor van ek weet wat ons nog betrokken is in publiek. Ek sien dit mos gewoonlik in 'n rolprente. 007 James Bond. Sien ek. Nou, ons organisasie ondersteun die wysigingswet nou, met wat hulle nou mee besig is. Maar ek hoop nie dat dit gaan wees soos die ou apartheid strukture nie. Want daardie tyd was ek ook 'n aktivis gewees en ons het ook baie ontberinge deur gegaan. Daarom hoop ek die wet gaan daarop toegepas wees. Die eerste ding wat ek kyk is na die opleidingsakademie, SANAI. Ek ondersteun die vorige spreker wat gesê het dat dit moet op jeugvlak moet toegepas word. Ons weet mos dat by elke dorp is ons nou 'n raad, die plaaslike raad. Nou by skole het hulle mos die soortgelyke jeugraad, miskien burgemeester en onderburgemeester. Ons wil hê dat dit ook moet toegepas word. Ons weet dat in die vorige, voor 1994, was daar net een bevolkingsgroep geweest. Daarom wil ons sê dat die akademie, hy moet probeer om al die bevolkingsgroepe in te stel.
But we request that the National Intelligence Agency give more power to the Inspector General as the same as the Public Protector. And we also request that finally when the law is implemented, that the laws should not be anti-South African, but with more eyes on foreign agencies. We believe that the National Intelligence Agency or the National Intelligence Services is a vast and broad spectrum of works Thus, we request that the intelligence services should include more divisions like the intelligence of national security, which includes your army and police services, intelligence on commerce and industry, intelligence on digital services, and very important, intelligence on NGOs, non-profit companies, and aid organizations that pretend to be aid organizations but is in actual fact spy agencies for foreign intelligence services like the CIA, FBI, Mossad, and the Israel Secret Intelligence Services. We agree with the previous speaker on recruitment and training in Sinai, and we also say that provision must be made for learners that leave school and recruitment from colleges and universities, but also cognizance must be given to the recognition of prior learning. We say that because there is no other person that can have more insight on intelligence on South African affairs like your previous comrades in the apartheid era. Lastly, we would also like to say that you should look in the provisions of torture, and that is correct. And then our last point that we want to make is that the intelligence services must also give a mandate to COCTA, as we know and see that other bills will also be tabled with regard to indigenous leaders and traditional leaders, and hence some of these leaders who just spring up to be leaders that is in actual fact working with foreign intelligence spy agencies. Thank you.
Disabilities. It is always difficult for people living with disabilities to find decent jobs. Government has given people with disabilities various opportunities to pursue further studies, to upskill themselves, and even to start their own businesses. But it is not always easy for them to find the work in various sectors, including government departments. We would like to see this department affording more work opportunities to youth, men, and people with disabilities. Government entities must set the example and lead the way to open employment opportunities for the most vulnerable people in our communities, those living with disabilities. Women in particular, in most cases, are left behind with their children, to fend for their children and the youth. Al Jamaat does support this bill, but we would like to see the government offer more opportunities to people with disabilities. Thank you.
Is in the heart and the capital of the United States of America. They are the home of Facebook and Google and all the other engines within the cyberspace. So what I would like to see is that there must be a direct bilateral between security agents or intelligence agents with the CIA and the FBI to control what is going on in Silicon Valley. Secondly, we all know that we are entering the era of robotics and artificial intelligence. And I think the bill must make provision for a special agency, especially in the health fraternity, when it comes to artificial intelligence and robotics. It can harm the health sector very much. Thirdly and lastly, I think that for me the oversight role and function should lie with the Office of the President, because the buck must stop somewhere. I think we have two very clear examples what happened in 2021 with a aircraft landing in mid-morning at one of our international key points. and no one can account. Secondly, we also have the example of the insurrection 2-3 years back in KwaZulu-Natal. I think the president must keep accountable for these where intelligence was. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Ali Patel and I'm from Al Jamaa, Drakenstein, the city of Drakenstein municipality that is in Cape Town. However, before I go further, I would like to ask the members of the committee's permission if I may present the presentation of Mr. Ibrahim Jacobs, who unfortunately is delayed at another meeting. Ibrahim Jacobs.
Go ahead. Remember the 3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Jacobs resides in Ward 6 in the Greater Municipality of Mossel Bay, and he's an Al Jamaa member. He's very grateful for the opportunity to address this esteemed committee on a matter of paramount importance to our democratic South Africa. That is the prevention of torture. We reflect our painful past under the apartheid regime, where communities, individuals endured unspeakable atrocities. It is incumbent upon us to ensure that such violations of human rights never occur again. And Al Jamaa would like to recommend that the clause on torture be removed from the bill. Further, the role of the Inspector General of Intelligence. In pursuit of building a democratic South Africa founded on principles of justice and equality, the establishment of oversight mechanisms to prevent abuses of it is essential. Central to this endeavor is the role of the Inspector General of Intelligence, tasked with ensuring accountability within our intelligence services and safeguarding against the repetition of the past. Not just the past, but also what we have experienced in 2021, the surprise unrest. Furthermore, also, we would like on the inclusive amendment process, a call for transparency and accountability. While we endorse the proposed amendments to empower the IG within the General Intelligence Bill, it is equally crucial to advocate for a transparent and inclusive amendment process moving forward. Our community asserts that any further amendments to the IG's mandate and authority must be incorporated directly into the final iteration of the bill. We'd also like to recommend that there should be efficient or more oversight from civil society. In conclusion, the prevention of torture is not merely a legal obligation, but a moral imperative that lies in the heart of our democratic aspirations. By strengthening the role of the Inspector General of Intelligence in the General Intelligence Bill, we can honor the sacrifices of those who have suffered and build a future where human dignity is upheld and protected for all. I urge this committee to seize this historic opportunity to enact meaningful reforms that will ensure justice, accountability, and respect for human rights in our beloved South Africa. Al Jamaa otherwise supports the bill. Thank you very much.